We are going live on this beautiful Thursday, July 13th, and welcome to everyone from very sunny southwestern Colorado, where it is now 89. It was 90 just a moment ago, with 19% humidity. Actually, a very pretty day outside, if a bit warm. And I've been spending the day going through all the new updated general training videos, which has turned out to be taking me all week. I have put them together. My assistant has done his work, and now I'm doing one final review before I'm sending them out. And I keep finding errors, so making little adjustments as I go. I'm into chapter 7 right now, so should be done in another day, and then the new training videos will be up. So welcome to everybody on this beautiful day, and I understand from looking at the comments so far, the 20s open into Europe and even into Soviet Europe, and somebody else worked to Ukraine. I mean, this is getting to be a very good sunspot cycle. One thing I noticed last week that we did not do was to give away the giveaway. The giveaway is the UV K5 from Quansheng. Okay, portable multi-band receiver. It's a handheld. And we're giving that away. And I've got this little package of cards here. Cards, letters, and so on, and I keep sort of shuffling them to pick we'll pick one. Okay, after we get going in a couple minutes. I have also received to review 2 more multimeters of various kinds, and let's see what else. I bought an EMF tester, which I did a very short video on it, but have not really tested it yet. Also, we got the Wolf River Coils TIA, Take It Along, antenna, and just been waiting for some decent weather so that we could test that out. I want to compare it with the other vertical and so on. So, very good, and welcome to everybody. Welcome indeed. To this channel. Thank you all Augies worldwide for coming in here. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to go back up and read the comments. Bill Myers, KE0OG, happy Thursday, Dave, and everyone. Harry Rundle says hi to Bill. Happy Thursday. Just dropped in while I am on FT8 20 meters. Looking forward to a good Thursday evening session with Dave. So am I. Looking forward to a great session. Bill Myers, hi Harry. Looking forward to this as well. Harry, does he always learn something? There's always a lot of good stuff in the comments too. I learned too, quite a bit. Okay, despite the war in Ukraine, Harry Rundle just made contact with the Ukrainian. The Ukrainians are very active on ham radio, and I am not surprised that those who are older and not in the armed forces and so on are, and we sometimes forget most of the war is in the very eastern part of the country, which leaves a good part of the country that, while dangerous, is still some semblance of normal life. There's been a bunch of stuff going on with the NATO summits, with the addition of Finland and Sweden. That will definitely change the calculus. Okay. Northeastern. Okay. That's David, AC3HT. Hello. Upper 70s and humid. Harry Rundle, AC3EK from Overly, Maryland. David AC3HT. Leo says, howdy, Augies and Dave. KK7CLY visiting from Albany, Oregon. And somebody has put $10 into the chat revenue already, and I really appreciate that because YouTube as a whole is, since the pandemic is officially over, the viewership has gone down on YouTube, which is causing them to make less, which means I make less, and so I'm trying to get that back up to pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. We did do one big thing this week. We sold the motorhome, mostly because I took it to Utah for that aeronautical conference, which was a great conference, please, but I had some issues. It just, like I got under it to fiddle with the valve that we needed to do in order to properly empty the tanks and everything. And I got out from under there, and there was nothing to grab onto to get up. I was stuck on the ground. And finally got some help from some people and got up in the air. And Loretta is having similar problems with her hips and back and so on. And we just said, we've done a lot of different things, and it's time to move on from this phase. So we sold the motorhome. We got a whole bunch of motorhome-ish stuff that we need to get rid of. I'm not going to make that the prize for anything, but if anybody of you live near Montrose, drop me a line and tell me, because I've got a bunch of 30 amp extension cords. I've got power, what would you call it, power fixer thing and stuff like that we need to put into new hens. So, and Leo says in Oregon it's sunny and high around 90. Harry, hi Leo from AC3EK. 90 degrees here. Actually, it's 87 at the moment. The sun is starting to go down behind a cloud. Leo's been having trouble with MFJ, getting his MFJ 464. I had 2 orders open with them. One was for that, and the other one was for an LC meter. And Augie wrote to me, or emailed me at askdave@arrl.org and gave me the URL for one on Amazon that he thought was pretty good. So I went ahead and bought that with channel funds, and I'll give it a good review when it gets here. And I went ahead and canceled my 2 orders with MFJ, and they very promptly refunded my money. So I don't know what's going on. I mean, they are, I guess in the past, they've always made their own equipment and sold it. And now they're getting equipment from other suppliers and reselling it, more like a retail store would do. And the problem there is that, there's supply chain issues, and there have been terrible supply chain issues. We're up against one now on my airplane. It needs an exhaust manifold, and that only comes from Australia, so we're waiting for that. And, my airplane is a week away from being ready and has been for 2 or 3 months now. So I despair of flying again. I hope I can fly again sometime. Okay, let's see. Oops. Leo says about 40% humidity. Terrence is in London. 2 Echo Zero India Papa Kilo. Hi from London, Dave 15C at 0140 as I type this. Okay. A bit cooler tonight. Let's see, 15C in F is 59 degrees. That's pretty cool. Okay, Leo, I just added some 3M Super 88 to augment the 3M 2228 self-vulcanizing tape today. Gave me a chance to raise the hex beam a little to tighten up the guy wires. I need to do some work on mine. There's a wire hanging down. And it is, we had some terrible winds, a couple weeks ago, and it might be from that. The problem is it takes 2 or 3 people to bring that antenna down. And we're having the same trouble with this new mast. This fellow, oh, I've got the envelope right here. Kent Klein, he goes by his middle name, Stephen, sent me some drawings for a 30-foot mast that I could make out of 10-foot pieces that kind of slipped inside each other and so on. And my assistant and I went to put it up, and it was just too tall. And the lever arm was such in the wind that it just came back down. We didn't even get the guys on the thing. So I'm going to get a couple more people, and we'll see if we can't put that thing up. And because that is a nice thing to get up 30 feet. That's almost the right height for 20-meter dipole. And so, Steve, we really are working on this. So, David AC3HT, anybody operate 6 meters? The band has been open from time to time here in Pennsylvania. 6 meters is called the magic band for a reason. When it opens up, it really opens up. And you can get some fabulous DX on that. Okay, Chuck Schreiber. Good evening, Dave, and all loggies worldwide. And 5 KVO from the hill country, South Texas, currently 97. Got up to 106 in the city with a heat index of 110 plus. Oh, we were watching the news this evening, and it just looks like the whole country is melting. And, you know, they had somebody in Las Vegas measuring the temperature with one of those things you point at and can measure temperatures remotely. It was like 150, 160 degrees on the pavement. And I remember what happened to me about this time last year when I put my foot down, or my knee down, on the roof, and the roof was that hot. And I had 2nd-degree burns on my knee. And that's what they're warning people about in the Las Vegas area, is these burns that people could get from touching the pavement. They said it's almost instantaneous. So, Harry, Dave, I do, one of our club members has a 6-meter beam, and he uses it on 6 in the FTA mode. He gets all over the East Coast and into Europe. Yes. I remember once I was looking across the 6-meter band, and there was nothing except on FTA. That was open. It's amazing. Okay. Harry says hi. Harry Rundle. Richard Myers, KE0OG, hello from South Daytona. Yeah, Doug Taylor, I can sense some humidity from Alabama. Let's get that heat index up to 105. Oh my, and Eddie, K6SDW over 100 in Sacramento this weekend. You know, we talk about high temperatures and everything, but 100 in Sacramento is not that rare. And Bakersfield is named Baker for a reason, I think. There's a town in California, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's right on Interstate 15, called Baker, because it bakes. Ooh, does it bake? Okay, Don Z is KC0DWZ in the northern Twin Cities of Minnesota. Skywarn activated with thunderstorms on the way. Wow. Let's see. Harry Rundle. Hi, Dave. Sorry I couldn't respond. Watching a program with my wife. Understood. My wife likes to do puzzles on her iPad while we watch TV. I keep telling her that the TV is just background music, but there it is. Oh, David got Israel on 17-meter FT8 about 30 minutes ago from Ohio. That's cool. That is good DX. Maverick Horse, hello Dave, I enjoy all your videos. They're great help in my quest to have good ground wave, skywave propagation conditions station. Good deal. Michael Warwick, hello from Queens, New York. Now, it's not often that you see a ham radio station in the city because everybody's so close in on each other. But I guess in Queens you can spread out just a little bit. KE0OG. Leo says his radio room faces south, and in the summer it gets kind of stifling hot when I get home from work. What I have done in here is put in a split unit air conditioner. So up on the wall is the part that's just the blower, and it's very quiet. And then the compressor is outside, and it's also very quiet. You can pick them up for about $1,000 at Home Depot, and if you hire somebody to do it, you might pay another $1,000 in installation costs. I made the mistake of getting it through Ben Franklin Plumbing or whatever it was, and they way overcharged me for the thing. It was gross. Thousands of dollars overcharged me. And then we put one in Loretta's studio, and that totaled up about $2,500 because we had to pay an electrician to run the line to it. Some of the bigger split units take 220, but some of the smaller ones, like the ones from Home Depot, they'll run on 110, but you really need to run them their own circuit. And this thing is just marvelous cooling down the room. My wife likes it warm, so we have our air conditioning set at 76. And I like it cool, so it is currently 70 in the room here. Very comfortable. Okay, Leo says he hasn't. James Roberts says hi, KA9TII. Leo hasn't operated in 3 weeks now. Optical Man Jeff, hi Dave from KE0KRO in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 78 degrees and thunderstorms. ASDF, any thoughts of selling your old general videos and the thumb drives again? My agreement with the ARRL is that they will be the exclusive distributor of those videos. And so if you're a member of the ARRL, you can go to learn.arrl.org and get into the On the Air section, and you'll see the videos for general and extra. They've also put the tech videos in there, but you can get the tech videos outside the firewall by going to the League headquarters YouTube channel. There are playlists on there. Now, what I have started to do, if you are interested, is I'm putting my #1 videos. These are my best of videos, and this is kind of hard, it's just not focusing on. There we go. Okay. These are just $29.95. There are 10 videos on here. This particular collection, which is my first, is my most popular videos, including a couple that kind of went viral. And they're good for like programs at your ham club or something like that. Or if you just like to have it, you can get it there. And of course, the usual copyright restrictions apply and so on. But I won't be doing that now. If I do terminate the agreement with the League, I will be offering those immediately. But I'm not at the moment. Now, I showed you that that picture I took last week. A picture, see if we can get to this here, photos. This one. I filled up with gas. Oops. $58.28 to fill up with gasoline. That's one fill, 15.4 gallons. Okay, one fill with gasoline. That's more than it costs to join the league for a year. And so if joining the league is the same as filling up your gas tank, I would say that in the big scheme of things, the league is pretty inexpensive. I know when I was, well, I am a member of IEEE. I'm a lifetime member. But they gave me that when I retired. I didn't have to pay for that. I didn't have to buy it. But I am a lifetime member. And back during my career, I'd be paying over $200 a year. And this is 20 years ago. Over $200 a year for membership in my professional organization, the International, or let's say the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, IEEE, to be a member of my professional organization. So the league, I know, $49.95 or $49.99 or whatever they charge, seems expensive at first glance. And there's been inflation and all that. But if it takes more than that for one fill for my Jeep, that kind of puts it in perspective. It's really not that expensive. So join the league, watch the videos, get your upgrade, and so on. Glenn Martin says hello from far west Missouri. Ross Brown has put $10 in the chat revenue, and it looks like somebody else has put in some more. So we'll go down and find that. Let's see. Leo says, I'm glad Finland was allowed to join NATO. Finland, and now Turkey has removed its objectives, and so Sweden will join too. This is very interesting to see. This is like a stick in the eye for Putin, so we'll see what happens. KJ5W, Bert Sharp, hi from Texas. Good to have you. Wes Harris, hello Dave, thanks for all you do. From W5WES, Ross Brown, there we go. W0NBG, hi Dave from Lakewood, Colorado. All's well here except for the heat. Yes, it's warm. And you guys have been getting some storms too over the last week or so. Studying the extra videos hard before the test changes next year. Yeah, it'll be another year before it changes. Now, the general just changed, and like I said, my task this week is to literally sit here and watch these things and fix mistakes. I thought we had them all ready to go, but I watch them and I go, oh, Winmore has been replaced by Vara. I better change the video, things like that. So that's what we're trying to do. Ron Hodges, hi, first time here, KF0LOW from Colfax, in IA. That's that's not Indiana, it's Iowa. Iowa. There are too many I's, too many N's too. Ron, welcome. Good to have you here. Leo, especially given their history with their eastern neighbor. The history he's referring to is that in World War II, when Nazi Germany and Russia agreed to a non-aggression pact, the direct result of that was a partitioning of Poland. Poland was cut in half, half going to the Nazis, half going to the Soviets. And as part of that, Soviet Russia felt free to go take Finland. And it was in the winter. The Soviets thought they were great at fighting in the winter, but the Finnish did too. And in fact, the Soviets made almost zero headway against the Finns. They were terribly defeated. And so Finland remained a free country. But there is a phenomenon in international diplomacy called Finlandization. Finland, in order to keep its independence from Russia, had to really kind of be nice to them, over the years. And so they have, while they are not part of the Soviet bloc, they have been certainly a lot of influence from there. And Finland and Sweden have never joined NATO. They wanted their independence. Norway had joined NATO because Norway was overrun by the Nazis and well remembers what that was like. Whereas Sweden kept their neutrality and Finland drove a very tight line between everybody. And so the fact that Sweden and Finland are in NATO is a major change. And it will be very interesting to see what happens. I hope it's not more than interesting. It's merely interesting. Ed Fry, hello to all from N3EDF in Muggy, Pennsylvania. Jim W7BWC is back on. K2MKT says, always enjoy your videos. Chris G7VEO, evening Dave and Augies from a warm East England. James Roberts, getting stock to fab this stuff has been hard. Arch Stanton, I can hear you better since you moved closer to the mic. Yeah, the mic is this webcam right here. I'm not wearing a mic. There's a way to do that, but it seems to work better this way. Okay. Bill Meyer, KE0OG. Hello, Dave. Okay. Varmints of some kind chewed about 3 inches of the jacket of my coax. I've sealed it up with rubber sealing tape, plastic 3M tape, and several tie wraps. Can you suggest a better fix? Yeah, some plastic pipe to put over it. If you can run your coax through some plastic pipe, I mean, you don't even need to put glue in the connectors or anything like that. They'll just stay together well enough that it'll keep the varmints away from it. You can also try burying it, although there are varmints that would go after it underground. But yeah, if you've got a problem with critters getting at the coax, just try some plastic pipe, or if it gets to that, if they chew through that, you must have bears eating that stuff. But you could always try metal pipe too. It won't affect what's inside the coax. Okay, hi David and fellow Augies. Greetings from VK Land, VK4 TPC. Paul. Ron Winkler, N5AUA. Would setting your solid state amp on top of your antenna tuner cause an SWR problem? Probably not, if everything's grounded together, to the central point ground in your station. Because your antenna tuner is completely enclosed in a metal case, and so is your antenna. Says, thank you for all that you do for ham radio. Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe PVC pipe. Pete Dayton's channel. Can you talk about gray line flagpoles? They say no need for radials. Do you agree? They've got 2 kinds. There's the classic flagpole, which is a classic vertical. So you feed it at the base. You'd be best to put the tuner at the base too, and then you need radials. Then they have the ones that are a bottom-fed electrical half wavelength long. So it's the equivalent of an end-fed dipole, except vertical and not terribly long, which just means there's a lot more loading. So again, you might want a tuner right at the bottom of it, whatever their instructions are. So check to make sure which one you're dealing with. In any case, grounded, drive a ground rod right at the antenna. Radials don't hurt, but if you're running the kind of antenna that's an end-fed half wave, you really don't need the radials, although you do need some kind of a counterpoise down there, which could be that ground rod, or better yet, some short radials or something like that. So, Bill, let's see. Hi, Dave. Thanks for all your videos. Learn a lot from them. That's DS Matt J. Dale Jershell, 17 meters has been great lately. I'll have to try it. Optical Man Jeff, yesterday we had a thunderstorm with 80-mile-an-hour winds. Well, I've not seen 80 here. The max winds that we have seen, I think, were 56 or 57. And that's pretty high for here. We had some tree limbs come down and stuff. Optical Man Jeff, that was Harry Rundle, adds $10 to the chat revenue and says, thank you for all you do to share your knowledge and other useful information for us, Augies and visitors. Well, thank you, Harry. I really try to do that and hope that what I tell you is correct. And if I tell you something that you don't think is correct, feel free to send me an email at askdave@arrl.org. It'll come straight to me. And tell me specifically what you think it is I got wrong and what you think the answer is and why. And the more you can give me in terms of a reference, on page umpty squad of the antenna book or in the handbook or something like that, or in an IEEE standard or whatever it may be, I would really appreciate knowing the source so that I can go to that source and learn more. I appreciate that. Had a guy write last Sunday, or was it a week ago Sunday? He said, you're wrong, you owe everybody a major apology, especially Times Microwave, but he didn't tell me what he thought I got wrong, nor did he give me what he thought was the right answer. He just jumped in with both feet and all that sort of thing. I don't know, it takes me a while to get over those. I am bipolar and I'm a bit sensitive, so anywhere, there you are. Jershell, KK9D in Wisconsin, was listening to 40 yesterday, and a major pileups. Of course, I was listening on a Hammerland HQ110, so it was pretty broadbanded. Wow. Optical Man Jeff, his antenna stayed up. And David adds $9.99 to the channel funds, the chat revenue, and says, thank you for all your content from KD8VRL. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate that. James Roberts, I heard that the commercial sector is trying to get frequencies very close to the 20-meter band. They're trying to get frequencies, period. What they have discovered is that if you put a fiber optic cable from a London brokerage house to a New York brokerage house, you can't get all the way there without going through repeaters. Now, they've done a lot of work on fiber optic repeaters. All they need is the header information. And then they can start routing that with the tail behind it, which is all the data and parity and everything. Start routing it so the only delay is reading the header. Well, you still get jitter and stuff like that in fiber optic cables. And where a profit depends on millisecond timing, who gets to the order first, those delays are untenable for them. So what they do is they use HF radio, because as they wiggle the diaphragm on this end, the speaker wiggles on the other end in the same period of time. The only delay is the speed of light. And they have done work with HF to show that they can do that. Now, there are lots of very strong high power users on HF. The broadcast stations that used to invade our 40 meters, sometimes occasionally do, are very high power stations. There's, 100,000 watts or more. Compared to our little 1,500 isn't very much. Now, if you put a powerful station at 13,990 or something like that, your modern ham radio receiver will kick that out just fine with its roofing filters. It would be very unlikely that they would cause trouble for the hams if they put in a clean station. Now, these are very well-funded people, and they have the funding to put in a clean station. They also know that if they get too much bad publicity from the hams or something, the FCC is going to make a move, because these people are in it. They're one in terms of the, how do I put this nice, the scum level, in terms of ranking of people who are doing strange things. Up at the top for me are the crypto people. People who are doing cryptocurrencies. They're making something from nothing and claiming a value for it. Okay, there's absolutely no tie to reality except supply and demand for this nothing. Right one step under that are the high-frequency traders. And those are people who will own a stock for a fraction of a second and try to make a profit on it, even if they make 1% or even less than 1% profit. If you could sit there and do that all day, you're skimming huge amounts of money from off the top of the economy. And like I said, I don't really care that much for these people. I don't think they're adding any value to society at all. I think they're just skimming off the top. But yeah, that's what these commercial sector things are. Again, there are a lot of HF things out there already that are very high power. So, Stephen Wood, KC1QEM, just got my antennas 7510 HF and love it. Solid construction, but seems noisy on 15, 20, and 40. Well, it could be it's in a noisy location. You might try and move it, or, if you've got one end attached to the house, move the wire over in another direction and see what you can do with that. I have it's the League's antenna, end-fed half-wave antenna, modified to add 75 meters. And I haven't finished testing that. I want to do a little more testing with that. But yeah, try your usual noise reduction processes. I did a video on all the noise reduction things that are available on the Icon 7300, which is shared by all the other radios, from preamps and also attenuators, notch, noise blanker, noise reduction, and what else did I get through there? There were a lot of functions that you could turn on, filters to play with, and so on, and see if you can get that out of there. Try your noise blanker. Now, the noise blankers in modern radios, unlike the old radios, are not just on and off. There are settings for them. So you can play with the settings and see if you can get something there that would work well. Sean, KM6NFO, added $10 to the chat revenue, so 73 to all, 110 this weekend in Sacramento. And I've got to imagine that the humidity is fairly high. because you're surrounded by water. There's a lot of rice being grown there that's actually being grown in flooded fields. And there's also, the Tulare Lake to the south. Um, there's a lot of water in the San Joaquin Valley right now. And I know that in the summertime, that central part of the San Joaquin and Sacramento valleys there, where the two come together, can get stinking hot. And it's great for the crops. Not always great for the people that are there. Um, let's see. So thank you, Sean, very much. Dale Jershell says they kept the Karelian Isthmus. Oh, the Russians did. Yes. So Finland had to cede land. That may, according to Henry Kissinger, that may happen in what you call the Ukraine. The problem that they're dealing with over there is that during the time of the Soviet Union, a lot of ethnic Russians moved into all these different other countries. And in Ukraine, there are quite a few ethnic Russians in the Crimea, and there are quite a few ethnic Russians in the very eastern part of the country. And so Russia has taken this as, well, there's ethnic Russians there. We're Mother Russia. We should rule them. Now, that's the same thing as Israel saying there are a lot of Jews in New York. We should rule them. And the U.S. goes, excuse me, no, you're not going to do that. But China is the same way. China feels that people abroad who are of Chinese descent are still Chinese. And there actually are organizations in the U.S. that will go around and contact these people. If somebody puts in a blog or something how much they hate Beijing's policies, they have people in the U.S. that will go after these people. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. And so, different countries feel different ways. We feel, there are expatriate Americans who live in other countries, and our embassy stands by to provide certain services like passport and a couple legal things and things like that. But by and large, we feel if somebody's moved to Honduras, they're not here, they're there. So we don't have that same kind of feeling that if you were born in America and you now live in Brazil, you're still an American. And maybe you are technically, but for all practical purposes, you're Brazilian. A lot of times when we hear in the news that, North Korea is refusing to release an American, you dig under the covers a little bit, it's a Korean who has naturalized into America and went back on a visit and made an unlucky stop somewhere. And that's why these people, now we've got this problem in Russia where, and this has been played out for a long time since the Cold War, they'll grab Americans off the street, basically, visiting Americans, and hold them on spying charges until there's a juicy trade that can be done. So we got a couple in process right now. That's how we got Brittany Grier back, was a trade there. Okay, let's see. That was a random thing there. D. Heller 777, hello Dave. KE0RPU, Dennis in Kansas City, Missouri. And Little Louie. And this is Little Louie's first super chat, so Google tells me. And thank you very much. He sends $10 to the chat revenue, says, hoping you and yours are well. Thank you for your tremendous dedication. Nick Stenger, W3NKS in Hagerstown, Maryland. Thank you very much for coming in and for your first super chat. Much appreciated. Okay, Leo. Finland's hassles with Russia go back to the 19th century. There's some very disturbing videos on YouTube regarding this. Oh, you go all through Eastern Europe, and it has a gruesome history. All the way from up Finland, all the way down into Turkey. The people who were helping the Americans in Syria were Armenians. Well, actually, they're Turkish, but they're of a completely different ethnic group. And they have their act together. I mean, they were doing marvelous stuff with the U.S., but the U.S. has not yet quite reciprocated to get them the respect they need from the actual Turkish people in Ankara. And the things that were done through history. And this is relatively recent history. I mean, I was born in 1951. In 1945, just 6 years earlier than when I was born, they still had those concentration death camps. I mean, it's just, you think about it. And when the Germans fought the Russians, you had sleazy people fighting sleazy people. I mean, the Russians or the Germans were committing all sorts of war crimes and killing the Jews. And the Russians were equally happy to do the same to the Germans. There was one story of about 100,000 German soldiers who surrendered to Russia in one area, and about 5,000 returned home. A lot of people were put in barbed wire encampments and left to starve. I mean, this is what I consider to be gross indecency. It's horrible what people will do to people. You know, I mean, we don't even treat our animals that bad. Okay, Chris K., odd question, but do you know if a list has been compiled of all ham sweepstakes or raffles? No. I do not have a lot of money and would like to acquire more equipment. Thanks, Chris. Well, we do a giveaway here, and I think that means it's about time to do the giveaway. Every month, I call it decluttering. I get things like this test equipment and so on from a lot of them are from China. I get a lot of stuff to test, and I'm perfectly happy to give these away. Okay, so what we're going to give away this time, and I have my pile of entries, is this Quansheng portable multiband transceiver. Whoops, the manual just came out. It's FM, okay, FM, and the instruction manual. Does not come with a programming cable, but it would use the so-called red cable from PowerWorks to program it. Okay, and here is the pile. Now I have shuffled these, so I put my finger in the middle, take the bottom half out, take the top one, or the one that's underneath, okay, and this is from Adi Talwar, KE0OG BFO. Let's see if that really is, did I get that right? Okay, he got his technician at the end of April. He has been exploring Echolink. He's preparing for his general exam. Has a daughter in college, lives in an apartment. There's some hams who live in apartments in New York City with antennas on the fire escape, but that's illegal, so city can hand out tickets for that kind of stuff. I think the next radio investment I'll make will be an antenna. Yes, there's some excellent antennas here. Okay, so, Dave, I did not handwrite the above since my handwriting can be a challenge to read even for me. No problem. No problem at all. So, KE2BFO in the Bronx in New York, okay, is the winner of the June giveaway. I haven't picked out the gift for the July giveaway yet. I need to do that. Now, the losing entries go into the shred pile, okay? I don't keep any information. And the winner's entry goes back to the winner. So again, I don't keep any information for that. I want to protect your privacy. This giveaway is not a way of gathering information on fans or anything like that. Okay, Dale also says, prior to being under the influence of Russian aggression, Ukraine, 3/4 of it were in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. All those borders have been drawn over and over and over and over and over again. Hopefully they'll stay for a while. Bill Myers, KA0OG, Leo. Thanks, Leo. Problem here is I have about 250 feet of coax, so it would take a lot of PVC. Yeah. Leah said, thanks for mentioning it's okay using pipe. Yeah, you know, this is the nice thing about coax. Do I have a handy piece of coax here? I have this one. It's a little big. This is LMR 400. And if you look at the way this thing is done here, you'll see that you've got the center conductor, you've got the shield around it, and so on. And what happens inside this shield stays inside the shield. So you can have anything here around it, and it's not going to affect what's going on inside. Unless, of course, they have teeth and they chew through it. But that is an age-old problem with coax, having people chew through it. Okay, Chris, if you tried eBay and Facebook Marketplace, Bill, maybe you can get lucky at your local Habitat for Humanity shop. True. Yeah, I mean, if it's really bad, they sell at Home Depot electrical conduit that's flexible, and it's empty. You can buy it with the wires already in it, but you can get it empty. And if you've got a particularly exposed spot, you can run the cable through that too. You can also get electrical conduit and run it through that too. There's just a bunch of things that you can do. So, whoops, the thing popping up on me. Let's see. Sealing patch, have to replace the entire run of coax and put it in CVC. Okay. I was under the impression that used ham equipment is highly risky. It can be. If somebody in your club, say, has a transceiver that they're willing to let go of for a good price, ask if you can borrow it for a couple months. And then make a decision after that as to whether or not you like the piece of equipment. Just getting something on eBay can be, you might get a gem, but it's so risky that I wouldn't do it. So, I've been watching a lot of Mr. Carlson's lab, and I'm beginning to develop an interest in electrical stuff, like repairs. Mr. Carlson's lab is another channel that's broader than just ham radio. And he has a very nice way of presenting his material. I noticed that he does not do a lot of, detailed trying to figure things out. he'll start with the project and then show it to you after it's finished, which is a lot easier to do. He also has an absolutely impressive wall of old-fashioned test equipment, oscilloscopes, voltmeters, power supplies, everything. Truly impressive what he's got there. And he's a very popular channel. He's got hundreds of thousands of viewers, and should. He does a very good, and he's got a nice delivery that is friendly and non-threatening. And he does not try to put anybody down or anything like that. It's just he's really inviting you in to show you something that he's really excited about. So, yeah, that's why it works very well. Okay, David, AC3HD has added $20 to the chat revenue. Says, hi, Dave, thanks for the live stream. Always enjoy the discussions. 73, your best wishes from AC3HD. Thank you, David, very much. James Roberts said Mr. Carlson's lab is very good, very knowledgeable guy, and he is. He's exceptional. He must have a teaching background. That's all I can think of. I have a teaching background too. My father was a teacher, so I inherited it. Actually, he taught me a lot about that kind of thing. Michael Warwick says, best wishes to all from KB2OIE. 3 Henry 21 adds $20 to the chat revenue. Says, haven't fed the chat kitty lately. Thanks for what you do from Conrad. KN6VMK. Out California way with that call. Larry, DU1/N6 HPX in the Philippines. Good morning from Manila, where I've been working on my radios. The FT857D, which I found out needed renewal of software. The FT857 groups helped me locate the problem. It worked and still needs some work. One of the problems with some of those older radios, and it's true with the ICOM too, they have battery in them. And the battery keeps track of things like dates and times and keeps the memories up and stuff like that. Now, on the ICOM 7300, it's a rechargeable battery. And every so often, you have to leave the thing powered. Don't have to leave it on, just powered for a couple hours every, several days, something like that. Some of the older radios would have memory that took extremely small amounts of current to keep current. And they'd have a battery in there which was good for 10 years. And it seems an awful long time when you're buying a piece of equipment. But when I look up at my shelf up here, I go, there's some pieces of equipment that I bought a lot more than 10 years ago. And sometimes those batteries can go, and you have to replace them, and then you have issues replacing the software and so on. ASDF. Isn't it true that as a United States citizen you are required to pay federal income tax, regardless of which country you live in or how long you've lived there? Yes and no. Yes, in general. You do have to file a tax return. However, there are all sorts of exemptions and deductions and stuff like that, so that if you are paying local tax, you don't pay American tax to a degree. Now, Boris Johnson was Prime Minister of England for a while. He sold a house over there, and the Americans came after him for capital gains. Rumor is he paid because, in addition to being a Brit and Prime Minister, he's also an American citizen. So, yes, that is true. But filling out a tax form from, say, Guatemala is a very different thing from filling out a tax form for money earned in the United States. There's all kinds of stuff there. Okay, from the Philippines, we got an LPA in the area dropping lots of rain. LPA. Little puddles. Plan to try the Anderson connectors here. Yeah, I've used Anderson connectors for quite a while. I've got a pile of them in the filing cabinet. Dale Jershell says, keep it up, and adds $5 to the chat revenue. Thank you, Dale. And I see a little picture of you there. Chris, G7VEO, what kind of large linear amp would you recommend? A valve amp or a more modern amp, meaning a transistor amp? Well, it's up to you. The tube amps have reached a very high state of technical development. If you pay the little extra money, they'll be self-tuning, self-protecting. They'll match your transceiver very, very nicely. If you get a real old tube amp, you may have a problem in that the input impedance may not be 50 ohms. Remember, the old tube rigs had a pi network output, and that could tune to just about anything. So working toward 50 ohm impedance was not important back in those days. With a transistor rig and a tube amp, a 50 ohm match becomes important. Some people have had to go so far as putting an antenna tuner between the radio and the amp. That's a pretty far out case, but it has happened. I would say that the tubes, if properly treated, are a less expensive way to get that power on the air. Now, the tubes themselves are becoming a little harder to get. It used to be that the company in America that made the tubes was IMAC, E-I-M-A-C. And they still make tubes, just not for ham radio. Their ham radio business is so small they finally dropped it. They make the big transmitting tubes for radio stations and diathermy and all of that sort of stuff. But the big thing is that the transistor amps now not only have 50 ohm input but also 50 ohm output. So you have to be careful with the antenna you feed it into, because anything under about a 1.5 to 1 SWR, they're going to start to fold back the power that they put out. They'll reduce power automatically. So that brings in the idea of a high power antenna tuner. So you can tune that to your antenna and take out any little kinks to get your power all the way up to where it should be. Which is better? My amp is a transistor amp. I appreciate that. I like that. But we're still at the point where you're going to pay close to double for a given power output for a transistor amp over a tube amp. Over the next 10 years, we're going to see them come to parity. And as soon as they come to parity, the tube amps will disappear. And we'll go all transistor. So we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So what you want to deal with is kind of up to you. You can save a lot of money, and some of the tube amps are really good with automatic tuning, so on and so forth. Alpha used to make some fabulous tube amps. There's out from India, ACOM, ACOM, makes tube amps with just all kinds of amazing bells and whistles. Okay, now you can get 1500 watt transistor amps. It used to be you couldn't even get them. You had to go tube. Now you can go to the transistor For example, the, what is it, not iMac, Elecraft makes the KPA 1500, which is a 1500 watt, very high-end transistor amp. But like I said, when I say very high-end, I mean very expensive. Okay. So Alan Failer says, good evening, Dave from Ohio, KB8RXY. Larry, back in the Philippines, says, working on 817 and D next. The tech claimed he was shy to work on the transmit. When I redid the software reboot and connected a mic and it responded, the rig was on 6995. And when I transmit, it responded. Oh, good. James Roberts, how do we get our name in that pile? Here is how you do it. You send an envelope, a QSL card, or a postcard to Dave Casler, KE0OG, P.O. Box Ridgeway, P.O. Box 98 in Ridgeway, Colorado. It's misspelled here. Ridgeway, Colorado, 81432. Okay? And in there, you put, or on the back of the postcard, here's a postcard entry right here. This is a postcard, okay? A real live, yes, they still make them, and they are still cheaper than first class. And then you send that to me, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado. And then on the back, you put in your name, call sign. It's important. Name, call sign, shipping address, and a phone number in case I have to call you regarding shipping. Okay? Because when I put in the shipping label thing, they usually ask for a phone number in case they have trouble with delivery. Okay, this was the winner's entry. And then what I do is I collect those for a month. So we'll be doing the July giveaway on the first live stream in August. Okay, that's the theory anyway. I've got another one of these Quancheng radios. I think I'll make that the giveaway for July too, since I've got two of them. Okay, that's how you get the name in the pile. Larry, when Russia invaded Ukraine, I made a comment of it on Facebook and got censored fast since I worked many Ukraine hams and supported our fellow hams there. Yeah, it's a little tricky. The U.S. is obviously officially supporting Ukraine. However, the U.S. is trying to maintain diplomatic relations with Russia. Now, as a member of the Mormon Church, we have members in both Ukraine and in Russia. We have temples in both places. So, how do you be even-handed in what is so obviously a war of aggression? I don't know. I just hope it sorts itself out soon. I know a guy here at church who, when the war first broke out, went over there and visited a lot of the LDS churches, helped move supplies around and stuff like that for a week or two. And his wife was aghast that he would go to the Ukraine. But like all wars, there's the hot zone and then there's the cold zone, so he was fine. But, you know, this has been a tough one because the Europeans recognize that the Russians could be invading their border anytime they wanted to. The Russians have very poorly executed the war against the Ukraine. That's not going to last. They're going to get better. Remember when Hitler first invaded Russia, he pushed them all the way literally to the gates to Moscow. And in a fairly short period of time, 3 years, the Russians went through, captured Berlin. So things can change. The Russians are willing to take large losses while they get their act together. So it's very interesting. I'm just very sad about the whole thing. Carl, what do you think of the Chinese knockoff LMR 400, like Shercall and Wilson 400 coax? Don't touch it. The way this stuff is built, this is LMR 400 by Times Microwave, and this is the genuine stuff. In the center, where you see that thing that looks like it's copper, if I get up there to where this thing will focus, that center conductor is copper-coated aluminum. Now, the reason for that is lightness, plus aluminum conducts electricity about as well as copper. The fact that the copper is plated onto the aluminum means you're not going to have a problem in there with dissimilar materials. But the issue is that aluminum is a special kind of aluminum designed for wiring. Now, I had a friend here in Montrose in our club. He got some Chinese LMR 400 and wanted me to put a connector on it because he couldn't do it. Well, the problem was that the aluminum in here was so brittle that if you put any sideways pressure on it, it would immediately crack and pop off. I had a heck of a time putting that connector on there, and I didn't have the heart to tell him that he had a whole bunch of really crappy coax. Buy the real stuff. LMR 400 is Times Microwave. Another good cable manufacturer is Belden. There's Mesopaolini in Italy that makes excellent cable. There are other places around that make excellent cable, but make sure you get excellent cable, because after all, this is the connection between your radio and your antenna. Okay? And if this is junk, you're not going to get as good a results as you could otherwise. So, you know, until I had that experience with the aluminum just cracking and coming apart, I thought, well, yeah, anybody can make cable. Well, no, it's not true. They're doing a ripoff. They're calling it 400 because they want people to think that, oh, that's LMR 400. Well, it's not. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG, has added $15 to the chat revenue. Thanks, Dave, for this program and all your help to the ham community. Very much appreciated. Well, thank you, Jeff. And Bill Myers, KA8GIM, has added $15 to the chat revenue and says, Dave, thank you for sharing your wisdom, advice, and experiences. Best $15 I've spent this week. Well, thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate that. Optical Man Jeff says, don't forget to hit the like button. We've got 53 likes out of currently, let's see, we maxed out at 119 viewers. We've got 111 right now. Okay. I need to, this is Little Louie. I need to email you a question about my mobile HF setup in my tractor and trailer. I don't think they have enough of a counterpoise. Well, I suspect if you got it grounded to the tractor, you're doing pretty good as far as counterpoise. But email me. Let me just go through the methods for getting in touch with me, the legal methods. One, if you are a patron, use the patron messaging feature where you can message the creator you're supporting, in that case me. And that comes into my email box, and those get the first look. Look at those. Second, email me at Ask Dave, all one word, at arrl.org. Okay, or, now, in the case of the emailing me through the league, that's normal email, so you can attach Photographs, drawings, whatever. Photographs really help. They really do. And if there's any information that I feel I need more, I'll email you back and ask for it. Like, give me a picture of your ground system or something. And then you can send, like Kent Klein did, send me a letter to Dave Casler, KE0OG, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado, 81432. Now, how do I tell the difference between that and these? And the answer is that I do open every envelope when I get it, because sometimes things are questions rather than entries into the drawing. The drawing is totally free. The only thing it costs you is postage. I pay the shipping, free anywhere in the United States. Now, if you want to enter and you're in another country like Canada or Switzerland or something, you can enter, but I will probably ask you to pay the postage to that. Okay. So send your question to me through, askdave@arrl.org. You don't need to be a member of the league to get to me at that address. Now, I will answer your question one of several ways. One, if it's a simple question, I'll answer directly in an email. If it's a little bit more complicated question, I might consider it for the column, the Ask Dave column. Okay, and if it's just, it just feels to me like I'd really like to draw on the whiteboard a little bit for you, I'll make a video about it. Now, most of the videos that I do are as a result of questions. It is called, after all, Ask Dave. But occasionally I'll do videos that are product reviews, something like that, or just experiences or just stories. So that's the best way to do it. And you can enter that, and I encourage everybody to enter. I would say go down to the post office and buy a packet of these postcards, because they're cheaper than the first-class stamp, and we'll be in good shape. Okay, we're running out of time, and I have to leave a little early tonight. So let's see. I saw one YouTube video explaining how to tie DC power from one of the boards in the IC7300 to keep the clock battery going. I'm not ready to go that far, so I just leave my power supply on. Yeah, and you only have to leave it on for like a couple hours every week. I wouldn't make that mod myself. Okay. Is the battery on the faceplate side of the 857D is a non-portable like the 817ND? LPA is low pressure, similar to a typhoon, and it has entered the Philippines a few days ago. Some flooding in north. I was once in a typhoon in the Philippines, in Manila. Boy, that was scary. I don't know the answer to your question. I know that there's a whole series of Yaesu rigs that are designed for portable use. Nick Knight, I have an antenna issue, I think. I have my antennas. Everything works great, but 10 meters. Never heard a single signal of any kind. Okay, 10 meters during the day, middle of the day, early afternoon. Okay? Also, gray line at dawn or dusk. Okay? You're not going to get much on 10 meters at night. Okay, so middle of the day. Have you done any videos on how to read a schematic? That's an interesting suggestion. To locate comments there by, the alphanumeric designation. Interesting. Interesting. I've never done that. I'll take a look at that. Okay, Messy Palin, great stuff. ABR Industries in Texas makes great clocks too. PowerWorks SS30DM, and it works, but sometimes takes a few moments, so I'm still working on it. Okay. And Glenn says, thank you for all you two do. Well, I'm going to have to skip out early, a few minutes early, 10 minutes. So I just want to say thank you to all of you and how much I love this group. Okay, I enjoy these Thursday evenings. It's great to sit down and talk with you. It's like sitting down and talking with old friends, and I really appreciate it. And I also appreciate the $125 that was put into the chat revenue. So, to all of you, I will say 73. We'll see you next week.